Hi, yes, go ahead and make your salad. That's usually what I do. I just listen to people on here. I don't really watch the actual broadcast because of the light sensitivity. So I just usually listen. I feel like the light is really strong. It's like really strong on one side here. I should get a little bit of fill light going on in here. All right. Okay. So I'll wait for a few people to come in. If anybody does come in. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Marisol and I have late stage Lyme disease. I've been scoping, doing Scope a Day in May, and May also happens to be Lyme Awareness Month. So I've been scoping about my own, I guess, personal journey, if you will, with late stage Lyme disease. My symptoms are neurological. They've kind of gotten to the point where they're very, very difficult to treat. And so I'm just talking about that for the month of May. If you want more information, visit my UCaring fundraising page, ucaring.com/Marisol has Lyme. And there's more information about my personal experience with Lyme disease on there. And I'll be accepting donations through the month of May. If you could please share the page with your family and friends, that would be great. All right, so today's topic was inspired by another scoper who I watch and who has watched me. And she's inspired a few of my scopes because she's really, really good at just coming up with stuff. So again, this was inspired by Hurricane in Heels. If you're not following her and you have a chronic illness, follow her. She's really, she speaks a lot about her illness, and she's very eloquent, I guess, about her illness. Her name is Kelly. But follow her. She's known as Hurricane in Heels on here. She has lupus. And yesterday she was talking about how some people tell her to just have faith in the Lord. You know, God knows what he's doing. God has a plan for you, that kind of thing. Hi, Shane. Welcome. And so I was listening to her, and she was talking about that and saying, yes, exactly, yeah. She's a religious person or a spiritual person. I'm also, I was born and raised Catholic, and, I was not devout, but I was, a practicing Catholic, I guess you could say. And once you get sick, all that stuff, exactly, save it. Yes, there's one side to it that it's like, okay, yes, have faith in the Lord, but then there's the other side where it's like, I'm sick, and faith in the Lord is probably not going to take away my illness. So I have my own personal story with that. And like I said, this was inspired by Hurricane in Heels. She just had, I don't know if her scope is still up from yesterday, but if it is, you should watch it because, she's very funny and very forthcoming, but also very honest and very real. And it really spoke to me when she was talking about this. So I decided to sort of research it a little bit and also give my own personal experience when it comes to religion and spirituality and having a chronic illness. I was diagnosed about 4 years ago. During that time, I was living with my ex-husband in an apartment complex. And there were a lot of interesting people there. And there was this one lady, I don't even know her real name. We named her Jesus Lady because that was the only, that was the most appropriate name for her. And I avoided this lady at all costs. I mean, I would try, if I saw her coming, I would, take an alternate route, I would just try to go somewhere else. But there were times where inevitably, I would run into her, and I knew, what the topic of conversation was going to be. And it was always something religiously based. She apparently, I guess, was a devout Christian. I don't know what denomination she was, but she, without fail, would come up with some kind of religious. She would connect any topic to religion or to God or the Lord and Savior. So I told her one day, we were talking, and I told her about my Lyme disease, and she was just like, you just got to put your hands together and just pray that Lyme away. Just pray it away, and the Lord will take it away. He will take care of it. She was truly convinced that the Lord was going to take my Lyme away, and all I needed to do was just pray and believe, and our Lord and Savior was going to take the Lyme away. And exactly, I wanted to be polite. She's an older lady. You want to respect your elders. But it was everything. It took every last ounce of energy that I had to just not, slap her across the face. I just could not deal with her. And everything, she would connect everything to religion. When Obama got elected, she was just like, Sodom and Gomorrah, and this is just horrible, and God is punishing us. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, this has nothing to do with God or Jesus or whatever. But people that have chronic illnesses, they will encounter this. There's always someone in the family that's religious. So if it isn't a neighbor in an apartment complex, it's going to be a family member. Either a family member that's always been religious or a family member that has recently been saved. They're going to come up to you and tell you, just have faith in the Lord and the Lord will take care of it. I have, my opinions about this. I think when people say stuff like that, they are, and like I said, I am, a religious person, or at least a spiritual person. I do believe in God, and I do believe, I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, mostly because of my illness, but I was going to church, and I was, sort of following the rules of the church, more or less. And I still, do believe some of those things. But because I believe some of those things, I feel that when these people say, Jesus will just take it away, or God will just help you, just pray, I think that actually sort of degrades, I don't know if that's the right word, but it sort of takes away from, what we believe God to be, or who we believe Jesus was. I feel like people are just making them out to be wizards. They're these magical wizards who just pray, and they'll wave their magic wand, and they'll take your illness away. And unfortunately, I don't believe it works that way. It doesn't work that way. I don't think that that God is a magical wizard that's just going to suddenly cure you of all your ailments. To be honest, I think it's quite the opposite. I think, God, if there is a God out there, I don't think that he is just picking and choosing, I'm going to make this person sick, or I'm going to make that person well. I think that's almost sort of a cruel thing to believe, that God or, whatever higher power is going to afflict certain people with these horrible diseases. If anything, I think it's a very hands-off type of situation. Things happen to us because they happen to us, not because God said, oh, it's going to happen to you. Hi, Andre. Welcome. So that's, I really just feel that that's foolish to think that. Hi, how are you? Religion and spirituality can only do so much. Do I think it's a good thing? Yeah, it can be a good thing for some people. For others, it doesn't work. If you're an atheist or if you're agnostic, that's not going to work for you. And if you have a chronic illness, having faith, is really not going to do much for you. So, there are pros and cons to this. I think people that do this kind of thing, people that come up to you and say, God is going to help you, God will take this away. I think they're just people that don't know what else to say. They don't know what else to do. They don't know what else to say to you. So that's sort of their go-to. They'll say things like, just have faith. God has a plan for you. Everything happens for a reason. God knows what he's doing. Thank you for the hearts. And I think that's just because it's for lack of a better word, basically. They don't know what else to say or what else to tell you because they don't know you're suffering. So that's one way to look at it. So some people, I just let it roll off my back because they honestly don't know how to comfort you or how to make you feel better in these situations. So they just sort of turn to God for that. I find this annoying because usually the people that say these things, what makes it more annoying is that the people that say these things usually don't have a chronic illness. They may have some types of issues, but they usually don't have a chronic illness, and so they can't relate. And I think if they did have a chronic illness, they would probably not say these things. They would have a better understanding that this is annoying. But it can only come from someone that has a chronic illness. Only someone with a chronic illness would understand. So I just think they're not speaking from experience. They're speaking out of ignorance and just a lack of anything better to say. So that's one side of the situation. But there's also the other side of the situation. Or the other side of this topic. I shouldn't say situation. For some people, spirituality does help and religion does help. And there are actually studies that have shown that it does actually help. There is evidence proving that religion and spirituality can help people with chronic illnesses. So, studies show that spirituality improves health outcomes for both men and women who are facing chronic illness. So there are studies that show positive improvements, or at least positive mental states for people that do believe in, a higher power. But there are differences in men and women, and I thought this was really interesting. Numerous studies have shown the positive effects of spirituality and religion on health. Prayer can serve as a positive distraction and a way to manage hard situations like illness. Religion and spirituality may help buffer the negative consequences of chronic health conditions. So there's a lot of proof to show this. I believe this study, if you are interested in this study, there was one study, December 7th, 2010, in the journal American Sociological Review. Okay. Hi, welcome. So in the journal American Sociological Review, they found that religious people gain life satisfaction thanks to social networks that they build by attending religious services. So there are actual published studies that show this. There was another 2006 study at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center that showed people who attend religious services weekly live longer than those who do not. There have been studies in other places, University of Wisconsin-Madison, University of Toronto, Scarborough. They found that thinking about God helps believers relieve anxiety during situations where they felt that they'd made a mistake. So there are numerous studies showing that faith, hello, Prince, that faith and religion can help you deal with a chronic illness. The people that were studied had various different types of illnesses. So it's not specific to, Lyme disease or an autoimmune condition. The different types of illnesses that these people had ranged from stroke, cancer, spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, stroke victims. I said stroke victims. So it's a wide array of different types of chronic health conditions. So, hey, there's evidence, you guys. So maybe Jesus lady wasn't that far off. So both genders, like I was saying, men and women show improvement or a better mental state in different ways. Both benefit from social support provided by fellow congregants and involvement in religious organizations. But the differences are, for women, greater mental health was associated with daily spiritual experiences, such as practicing forgiveness and using their religious beliefs to help them handle problems. For example, believing in a loving, supportive higher power was related to positive mental coping for women with chronic conditions. So basically, for women, it was more of a mental experience and mental coping skills. It helped them handle whatever situations came their way because of their health issues. Men, on the other hand, benefit from the actual social support they receive by being involved in religious activities. So this can include care from congregation spiritual intervention this can include care from the congregation, so direct care from other people, or spiritual interventions such as religious counseling and forgiveness practices. So men are more about the social aspects of it, actually interacting with people, with counselors, with the congregation, or the clergy and stuff like that. They've benefited from assistance from pastors and hospital chaplains. So men are more social in this situation. They need that direct interaction with another human being in order to receive help. Whereas for women, it was more psychological, more mental, more spiritual, prayer, believing in a higher power, believing that there was actual, a God or Jesus that was looking after them. Not so much the actual interaction, but they do benefit from that as well. But men benefit from that even more. Both men and women lean on their faith and congregations for spiritual support during difficult times, and both genders increase their reliance on spiritual and religious resources as they face increased illness or disability. So that was basically what I found and what I've seen. Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, I am not able to partake in religious services because of my illness. My light sensitivity keeps me from actually going inside a church, although prior to my illness, I did go to church regularly. Do I believe in a higher power? Yes. Do I pray? Do I pray? Sometimes. Do I think that it's just going to, that my illness is just going to disappear if I have enough faith in God? Probably not. Do miracles happen? Yeah, I do believe in miracles. I believe that, miracles can happen. But I don't think that in my case, or in the case of people that have these chronic illnesses, that, a miracle is just going to occur and it's going to go away. It's such a touchy subject. Religion is such a touchy subject for some people because, when people believe in God, they believe in God, and there's really nothing that you can do to change that. But it's every individual. It's the individual experience. It'll work for some people. It won't work for others. I'm not going to recommend it to someone. I'm not going to push it on somebody. And I wouldn't like it pushed on me either. If you know somebody that has a chronic illness and you're a very religious person, just know that, your religion is your own personal experience. Don't force it on that person. That person is already suffering enough. And you can also, for some of us, there are some people that become afflicted with an illness that previously were religious people or very spiritual people, and it changes their perspective on that. There are certain things that I've changed perspective on since becoming ill. For example, abortion and things like that. My perspective has changed because of my illness. Whereas before it was my religion that sort of that colored my opinion on that topic. And once you become ill, it's different. Things change, and you start to see things in a different light. So you want to be careful if you talk to someone that is sick about religion and about having faith and being spiritual, because it could go the opposite way. You can push them away from religion and spirituality because they're suffering and they may have a different perspective on God, if they still believe in God. So you really want to be careful